Predator. A guy was harassing a girl in college. He was stalking her, actively trying to isolate her. Real predator stuff. They had the same advisor, so they had to work closely together. This is about the time I met them. A friend of a friend that came to a party at my home. This was the first time I saw him aggress her. I intervened on this occasion and found out this had been going on for some time. Not only that, but the professor was knowingly allowing this behavior to go on. We convinced her to file harassment charges at the university against the other student and the professor. The hearing comes and goes, and they are found guilty. The professor lost his status but was not fired. The student, who had been attending for his master's degree but had not finished, was kicked out of school and would not be allowed back until he could write an acceptable apology and a "how I've improved myself" letter to the school. Additionally, if he tried to go to another school for his master's, a letter would be sent to the new school, along with his transcript explaining what happened. So not only does he not get to graduate there, but also not anywhere. My revenge. During this process, which took many months, I learned the professor was working on a TV special, and had the creepo as his production assistant. Go figure. They were being supported by an angel donor who was giving the professor a large amount of grant money. So I reached out to the donor and the TV station, letting them know about Professor Ashat and what he and his student were up to. The TV special was canceled, the money was gone, and the student was banned from working with anything school-related. They took her safety. We took their legacy. Bad predator? Bad. When I first met the girl he was harassing, she was a shadow of herself. She was scared, constantly looking over her shoulder and trying to minimize her presence to avoid any further confrontation. She told her friends bits and pieces, but the full extent of what was happening didn't come out until that night at my party. She broke down, explaining how he'd follow her to her dorm, show up at the library when she was studying, and even wait outside her classes. She had tried to tell the professor before, but he dismissed her concerns, saying things like, "Boys will be boys," or "He's just socially awkward. Don't take it personally." Hearing this made my blood boil. This wasn't just inappropriate. It was calculated and predatory. I couldn't stand by and let it continue. I decided to do everything in my power to help her, starting with making sure she felt safe. We created a plan. She wouldn't go anywhere alone, and we kept records of everything he did. Every text, every email, every unwanted interaction. We helped her gather evidence to present to the university. Meanwhile, I started digging into the professor's background. It didn't take long to uncover his involvement with the student. They were practically partners in crime. The professor's indifference wasn't just negligence. It was complicity. He'd given the student access to resources, helped him secure positions within the department, and even recommended him for external projects. It was sickening. The university hearing was a small victory, but it wasn't enough. Sure, the student was kicked out and the professor lost his status, but they still had opportunities to rebuild elsewhere. The predator's apology letter requirement felt like a slap on the wrist. It didn't address the damage he'd caused or the danger he posed to others. That's when I decided to take things a step further. I started researching the professor's current projects. The TV special was a big deal for him, a chance to showcase his work and solidify his reputation. He'd been working on it for years, relying heavily on grant money from a single donor. I reached out to the donor anonymously, providing them with all the details about the professor's behavior and his enabling of the predator student. I included documentation from the university's hearing, along with testimonials from students who had experienced or witnessed similar misconduct. The donor was horrified. They immediately pulled their funding, and without that money, the TV special was dead in the water. The professor tried to salvage it by seeking alternative funding, but word had already spread. The TV station dropped him, not wanting to be associated with the scandal. His career was effectively over. As for the student, his expulsion wasn't the end of his troubles. The university's decision to include a letter about his behavior with his transcript ensured that he couldn't simply move on to another school. Every time he applied for a program, they'd know exactly what he'd done. The doors he thought would open for him were now firmly shut. Seeing the predator's downfall was satisfying, but the best part was watching the girl he harassed reclaim her life. With him out of the picture, she could finally breathe again. She started speaking out about her experience, encouraging others to stand up against harassment and abuse. Her courage inspired others to share their stories, creating a ripple effect of accountability within the university. Looking back, I'm proud of what we accomplished. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. These predators thought they could act without consequences, but they were wrong. They underestimated the strength of the people they tried to silence. Together, we showed them that their actions have repercussions, and their victims are not powerless. They took her safety. We took their legacy. Bad predator. Bad, bad.